So the topic today has been given as what are the business opportunities due to COVID-19 pandemic for the solar industry and what is the way forward. So just to introduce myself and my company, Hinduja Renewables, I look after the business development vertical for Hinduja Renewables. It's part of a 50 billion Hinduja group. We have about almost we're going to touch 250 megawatt portfolio by the end of this year, and we are IPP, and we are slated to grow and with the Indian market. These are the various offerings which we are having for our customers. We offer rooftop projects under the RESCO model. We also offer ground-mounted projects under open access model, even the group captive, and of course reverse bidding for the for projects which are coming by the from the central and state. So jumping straight to the topic, the challenges which we are seeing today are because of a pandemic which was never known to the world, and it suddenly struck us. Nobody knew it was. It is an event which has been never been seen by anybody in our lifetime. So there are some short-term and medium-term challenges which I'll cover. In the short term, what we are seeing now is that the global supply chain of the solar equipment has got affected. 80% of solar module which was getting imported from China, the supply chain got affected, and certain other imported equipment. Almost 3 gigawatt of projects in India have got stalled due to the lockdown at the national level, affecting some 150 billion rupees of projects with employment, having effect on the employment of almost 70,000 people. So it's a huge, effect on the industry per se. The module prices have risen due to the rupee depreciation, which has happened over these last 2 to 3 months, and the supply shortages is making them costlier. But we see that this may be only in the short term, as the pandemic will progress and lockdown will be eased out. These things may change. There are cash flow problems which started happening. Government in the right context, they told us, gave a moratorium of 3 months, which was declared. But this is also having mixed effect. Not all banking and financial institutions are going with it, and the solar business models, which were actually heavily dependent on the smooth flow of revenues, are getting affected. So there is a delay in project implementation because of labor availability, because of the lockdown, leading to project cost overruns. Mostly, the projects in the local levels or at the state levels are only very little work is going on since partial lockdown has been lifted. Because of that, some work has started. But as we can see that most of the busy season, which was before the monsoon, has been lost. The factory and commercial establishments are shut. They are gradually started opening now. Hopefully, we see that by Monday we will have some, by this Sunday maybe some more developments will take place, and from 18th of May we will have some further easing of lockdown, which will start making the industry move forward. Some positive steps which the central government has taken for solar industry was that initially only at the start, the RE generating stations were granted must-run status under the essential operation of RE power generation utilities condition. And some special permissions from MNRE, even the district collectors are being given to continue the work and for material movement within the states and safe zones. And of course, certain port charges exemption also given. Even SECI had asked DISCOMs to allow digital invoicing so that in this time of lockdown, at least the invoicing activity can continue and the payment to the RE generators can be given on a regular basis, as was done before. The DISCOMs claim of force majeure, initially all the DISCOMs were claiming this under force majeure. This was curtailed, making it null and void. And this was a big relief to the developers. And now the curtailment, as per the orders, are only allowed for grid safety. But we are seeing that some of the discoms are also using this condition and some other condition to curtail power of certain RE generators. But these incidents are not mainstream; they are in few states only. Overall, the must-run status of this RE generation station is still in vogue. So the current situation, what we can see over here is that electricity being the essential services, all the utility scale, large scale plants which are feeding into the grid is operating normally with normal or very limited O&M activities going on. Except for a few backdown events, most of the activities of the large solar plants are normal. Rooftop plants which were made without net metering are the worst affected. Of course, the rooftop plants with net metering are generating, and the generation, whatever they are generating in this time when their factories or the residential complex on which they have been built, if they are under lockdown and not consuming power, then that extra power is going into the grid, and for that they will be getting some relief. But of course, those plants which don't have net metering and for which the power demand has become very less or almost nil, the power of those solar plants are getting wasted out. So smaller players in the solar sector, especially the rooftop sector, are the most impacted because of this pandemic, while the bigger players are bracing the impact of what will happen. Since we are in the stage where we are yet in the middle of the pandemic, we can't say that when the status quo of or the recovery of this industry will happen. But we sure know that situation is still far away from complete normalcy. I think it will take few months before the complete conditions of solar industry will come towards the normalcy what it was before the pandemic. In the medium term, what challenges we are seeing is that there is going to be a rise of indigenous manufacturing because globally all the countries have realized not to have heavy dependence on imports in such times because every country is looking inwards now. So we are sure that this kind of a event at that scale will bring some the policymakers of the country will have a thought, and maybe they will give some impetus to the indigenous manufacturing. The policymakers and regulators at the center also are taking steps to support the solar sector. Basically, the center is making all out efforts to ensure the energy security of the country. And there is no better way than to go for renewables, where the raw material for the power is available in the country, and you don't have to depend on coal or other raw material from outside our country. So for our complete energy independence, I'm hoping that in the medium term, this pandemic will provide some impetus to the policymakers. Also, there is a sharp decline in the oil market, which we have seen in last 2-3 months, which may impact the clean energy transition. It can in a way delay the adoption of energy efficient technologies because these technologies were becoming more they were coming more in the forefront because of the difference in price of fossil fuel versus the solar power. But if the price of the fuel goes down, then certainly the attraction will reduce. So this is one area where people are looking very keenly. Of course, the grid infrastructure management. This is also going to take a prominence as we have seen that at one event where our Prime Minister had asked for 9 minutes at 9 p.m. To switch off all the electricity, and it was a big event at the national level where the complete grid infrastructure management was tested. There it was realized that firm power or power on demand, like which can ramp up or ramp down in very less time, is the requirement of the day. And as more and more renewables will keep getting added up, there will be ask from the grid management purview to have more kind of storage technologies, and especially those technologies which can ramp up or ramp down very quickly. So we feel that the battery storage technologies, or even some of the even hydro for that matter, was a technology which can ramp up and ramp down pretty quickly. So these technologies, I think, will get a boost in the medium term. Now, what are the business opportunities because of this COVID-19 pandemic? As we see that the business always happens, whether the conditions are normal or whether we are under pandemic. But the business activities continue. So we know that COVID-19 is a black swan event which could severely, either it can impact or accelerate the energy transition towards clean solar energy. So we are yet to see whether it is going to affect or whether it is going to accelerate. Though as a part of the industry, we are hoping that it will accelerate the energy transition. But these things are, these are only opinions. But the real effect will come only once the pandemic has subsides and the condition have become normal. As far as the short terms are there, what opportunities we are seeing is that the travel restrictions had made everyone work from home. So even this webinar, what I'm having, it is one of its kind that in the comfort of our home, we are able to, do these webinars and connect to the audiences, tell them about our thoughts, exchange our views. So all those kinds of, and like even the client meetings, etc., are all happening online. So this is saving a lot of travel time and cost. So this is one, I would say, positive effect. But at the same time, we are also hearing from people that face-to-face meetings have their own, attractiveness. And to most of the people, talking through the, laptop or talking through online meetings is not the same as it is in the, physical meetings. To survive over this long lockdown period, this work from home culture will have an impact on the future of the commercial office spaces which are there. Maybe people will try and downsize their office spaces and allow certain employees to work from home. So that is what we are seeing in the short term is happening. Even the CNI, the commercial and industrial customers, they got severely affected because of complete lockdown at the national level. They have now started dipping into every saving which is possible. And the saving which is possible in operation was power. And that is where now the complete stress of the operating team have gone into. So this is what we are realizing, that more and more CNI customers are seeing power as a drain on their operations, and they are trying to minimize this cost, and thus they are looking towards solar power, which can bring some savings in their energy bill. So we see that due to this, some prominence of solar power will take place. The OPEX model, or the model in which the developer is putting his investment and the customer does not have to pay anything upfront. He has to only pay for the energy which he is using. Such kind of models have promised to grow and attract more customers. The availability and affordability of the debt is also one point which I think will decide what is going to be the pace of the solar industry in the short term. If the debt will be available at the affordable rate, or if the debt rates will go even further down, making it more attractive, we are sure more solar projects will be developed. The financial crunch which we are seeing due to the payment delays, this is also going to stress some developers and some asset owners, and I think they may go for acquisition route, or they may go for selling of their asset much earlier than they have planned. So this is an opportunity for those developers which are looking for growth in their portfolio. So this is the time when probably they can have a look at these assets. As far as the business opportunities in the medium term is concerned, Once the pandemic is over and the things become normal, maybe the long term and reliable government policy will start looking progressively. And one way is that they have already looking at the Electricity Act revision. And if they look very progressively in this direction and make the act in such a way that it supports solar power, then of course this will be a good icing on the cake. As far as the distributed renewable energy is concerned, I think the distributed solar energy in terms of solar pumps for the agriculture industry and the rooftop solar has a tremendous opportunity to grow in these times. The services have also got a good opportunity to grow and thrive in this market because each and every asset owner and developer, they are looking for reducing their operating cost. They want a lean team, and the only way to do is by having a small team and maximum outsourcing of the services. So services sector certainly has got a good business opportunity to thrive in this situation. Digitization and artificial intelligence is another area where I think the solar asset management will become a part of every developer, where they will try and bring in more technology and more digitization so that they are able to run smoothly all their business operation, even in the times of such pandemic, and especially with teams which can work from home. So I think this pandemic is teaching us that we have to make our business robust in such a way that even if such situation comes again, we should be ready and our business operation should not get affected too much. And we should have, plan A, plan B ready to take on, these challenges. We can also see that the global oil prices of the future will decide what will be the adoption of electric vehicles, because we are seeing that especially the two-wheelers and three-wheeler electric vehicles were slated to grow in India in coming years, and we were also seeing that their integration to the distributed solar power is also going to happen. So there is a opportunity for distributed solar power, especially rooftop power, in this sector. We also see that even the health center and hospitals and certain disaster relief organizations which have got most affected because of this medical emergency, they can also start exploring solar power to address such situations in future. So this is one area we feel that maybe there's an opportunity for these organizations to explore and depend on solar power, especially when solar power gets storage energy as a bundled up firm power. So I think that is the way forward for in the medium term. So all in all, to complete my short talk, I can say the way forward is for the Asia Pacific and specifically for India. We are projected to be the largest and the most optimistic market for renewable energy. And I feel that this COVID-19 pandemic has not left a large dent on the industry. It has unsettled the industry in a small way. But I feel that this small bump will be taken in our stride, and the industry will come back again with full vigor. So these are my thoughts. Thank you so much.
Um, Thank you, sir. I have two questions in your talk that I feel everyone would benefit from. Um, you stated that there has been digital invoicing from the discoms that are happening now, and even other such important, methods that are being used to uh, incorporate new working situation. Do you feel that these will have a long-term impact moving forward, even once things reach a new level of normalcy? Because having digital invoicing will definitely improve the efficiency of payment, on-timely payment as well.
Yeah, sure. See, what I can tell you is that as developers, we are having our billings done up, and the challenge which we are facing now is that all the joint meter readings were taken physically. And in one of our plants, they had put the entire system for digital invoicing much before the pandemic came. And to our good luck, that particular plant is having the facilities where the meter readings of that plant is reaching directly to the discom, and they're able to generate the bill. So I think if this joint meter reading of generating power stations are made digital, and the now these technologies are available and it is not very expensive technology, so the invoicing generation can be made automatic, so that the delay between the joint meter reading till the issuance of the invoice, maybe some 7 to 10 days delay, it can also be avoided. And also, this human interference of the billing can also reduce. So, just like we are now having in a residential sector, the billing is possible, through online. Even the bills are coming through mail. So something of these on these lines, I think, is required for the solar industry sector also. And I think government is working on it. I think all the discoms, major discoms, have been given instructions to digitize their processes. Now, how soon they are able to do it is depending state to state.
Okay. My next question is regarding the prices and policies. So we all agree that when things turn stabilize, there's going to be a new normal. It won't go back to how it was before. There will be a new normal. All of these changes will be incorporated. So keeping in mind, previously a year on year, the module prices have been falling. Do you think that trend will continue?
So if you see at the module prices have been falling, but it had arrested in the last quarter, Q4 of 2019. Now we are seeing a trend in the change of technology. More of mono-PERC modules are going to be coming now. Initially, there was a difference of prices between the monocrystalline and crystalline modules and mono-PERC. But now that difference also we are seeing is slowly and slowly, getting reduced. So we are going to see this sector being driven mostly by the demand and supply, and how the manufacturing is priced by China. As you are aware that almost 80% of the modules are coming from China. So I think the pricing on the module part, I am not the right person to comment on that. But my personal opinion is that the price will be dictated more on the supply and demand cycle and how China perceives it, because this pandemic has made the Europe and the other markets a little careful about China. So how do this entire gambit will hold or unfold is, we have to see it in the maybe the Q3 Q4. Then only we will be able to see. But I feel that more than the technology, it is the change in the technology which will get offset by whatever reduction in module prices was possible. So maybe the module prices for a few quarters will remain almost, flat or almost on the same lines.
Okay. I understand, sir. Thank you so much for all of your insights. Very helpful in understanding the new business opportunities moving forward in solar, and where we can focus our efforts in getting pushing forward energy transition.
There was a one small question by Mr. Raghavinder Bengali, that he was asking, do you still see the market will go to China? So my answer to that question is that it is not the market will go to China, it is the demand supply, because each developer is wanting to reduce the price of his solar power uh, asset. So whichever market will offer more economic option and better quality at a lower cost, that market will develop. So whichever market can capture that demand supply, that market will gain from this.